Let's jump right into this explainer. We're about to uncover the bizarre, sometimes totally terrifying, but honestly fascinating origins of medicine. Seriously, forget everything you know about sterile hospitals, modern prescriptions, or anatomical charts. We're taking a trip way, way back to the dawn of civilization. Back to a time when your local physician was actually a mystical sorcerer. It's a wild journey into the ancient mind, where surviving a basic illness depended just as much on chanting spells as it did on anything physical.
So, got a fever? Why not try a wax voodoo doll? Just imagine for a second being an early human. You've come down with this sudden, burning fever. You feel incredibly weak. Well, you're not popping a scientifically formulated pill, and you're definitely not resting in bed while someone checks your temperature. Instead, your village healer might literally demand a lock of your hair, craft a wax figure of you, and perform this intense, dramatic ritual over it. I mean, sounds crazy to us, right? But this was the absolute reality of early survival. Let's look at exactly why our ancestors thought this was the absolute pinnacle of medical care.
The absolutely crucial point to understand here is that in the ancient world, medicine wasn't science at all. It was pure magic. Period. Our early ancestors had literally zero concept of biology, viruses, immune systems, or bacteria. So when severe illness struck, they didn't look inside the physical body for causes. They looked outward to the supernatural. To them, the physical world and the mystical world, they were the exact same thing. Early human existence was filled with unknown, invisible terrors. To really get this, you gotta put yourself in their shoes. They lived in a prehistoric world completely engulfed by the unknown, entirely at the mercy of massive, unpredictable natural forces. When massive storms raged, when lightning struck out of nowhere, or when an eclipse suddenly blocked out the sun, they didn't see weather patterns or astronomy. They saw angry, invisible forces at work. To the primitive mind, the world was packed with powerful spirits that dictated absolutely everything, especially life, death, and sudden illness.
Because of that genuinely terrifying worldview, early humans categorized sickness in completely different ways. Lacking any biological knowledge, they genuinely believed a sudden ache or a fatal fever was literally a punishment, maybe from angry spirits or the restless ghosts of the dead. They also strongly believed in the evil eye, the idea that someone could make you sick just by glaring at you with intense jealousy. Or they just figured a rival tribe had cast a direct curse on you. Sickness was never just a failure of your organs. It was always an invisible supernatural attack.
Let's formally define this so we can really grasp their mindset. An ancient disease was considered a supernatural attack by invisible forces, rather than a biological failure of the body. Think about it. If an illness is caused by a magical attack, well, you need a very specific type of warrior to fight back, right? You obviously can't fight an evil spirit with a bandage. You have to fight magic with magic. The contrast between a modern doctor and an ancient healer is just staggering. Today, a modern doctor relies entirely on science, biology, and chemistry to treat the physical body. But the ancient sorcerer doctor? Yeah, they didn't use chemistry. They relied heavily on fear, elaborate spells, immense social authority, and highly dramatic rituals. These healers were seriously intimidating figures in the tribe. Their entire job was to use their personal power and mystical connections to literally scare or force the sickness right out of you. Okay, let's dive into the actual treatment. We're looking at the historical steps of a wildly popular ancient prescription known as contagious magic. This is specifically documented in ancient Egyptian papyrus records, by the way. Step 1, the sorcerer collects a piece of the patient. We're talking hair, nail clippings, maybe a scrap of worn clothing. Step 2, they embed these personal items right into a wax or clay doll meant to represent the sick person. And step 3, they pierce, burn, or enchant that doll to manipulate the illness. The core belief here was that because the doll contained a literal piece of the patient, whatever magical healing or pain was inflicted on the doll would magically transfer straight into the patient's body, forcing the illness to flee.
And you know what? Contagious magic was just one tool in their incredibly creative medical kit. Just look at these bizarre ancient prescriptions. People wore massive physical amulets and specific charms around their necks, day and night, just to repel spirits. They'd hang animal horns, like sheep horns, right over their front doors to specifically ward off the evil eye. In some cultures, they would even take a sick person and secretly hide them away in a forest hut, genuinely believing they could trick the diseased sorcerer into losing their scent. Actually, my absolute favorite? They'd perform rituals to transfer the sickness out of the human body and directly into an animal, or even into a sacred fly kept in a little jar. I know, it sounds totally wild to us, but back then, this was serious life-or-death healthcare.
The connection between healing and magic was so deeply intertwined that ancient languages actually reflected it permanently. Check out this ancient Arabic linguistic proverb.
Is your medicine magic or is it madness? This totally captures the era. It proves that for early civilizations, the concepts of healing, sorcery, and just sheer irrational belief were completely blurred together. To them, effective medicine was magic. There was simply no dividing line whatsoever.
But hold on, here is the massive question that kind of changes everything we've just talked about. If their doctors were just out there casting fake spells, piercing wax dolls, and waving animal horns around, how did humanity survive? I mean, why did people keep going to these sorcerers generation after generation if they were just complete charlatans? Well, the shocking truth is, this magic actually worked for a lot of people. But why?
The answer to that mystery lies in a massive secret weapon: psychological influence and the placebo effect. You see, the sorcerer's true power wasn't actually in the wax doll or the chanted spell at all. Their real, incredibly potent magic was the profound psychological impact they had on a desperate, terrified, and totally believing patient. By healing the mind, they were, in turn, actually healing the body. Let's break down the psychology of ancient healing, because this brilliantly illustrates the incredible power of the human mind. First up, those dramatic rituals, the chanting, the smoke, the intense focus, that commanded absolute, total belief from the patient. Second, the sorcerer held immense social authority in the tribe, which sparked intense hope in someone who previously thought they were total goners. Third, the sheer force of the sorcerer's suggestion acted almost like an early form of clinical hypnosis, which instantly calmed the patient's severe panic and anxiety. And finally, this incredible, strong, unshakable faith in the cure essentially relieved the body's stress. This allowed the human immune system, which, remember, they knew absolutely nothing about, to naturally kick in and trigger a recovery. So, the ancient sorcerer was actually an accidental yet total master of the placebo effect.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a provocative thought to chew on. Over thousands of years, we've thankfully traded our wax dolls for antibiotics and our sorcerers for scientists. But think about it. When you visit a modern doctor in a crisp white coat, sitting in a sterile office, hanging on to their every single word of authority, how much magic, that deep human belief, that inherent trust in authority, and that comforting bedside manner is actually still doing the healing today? Definitely something to think about the next time you get a prescription. Thanks so much for joining me on this fascinating journey into the ancient mind. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.